The film Nobody commences within an interrogation room, where an unidentified man exudes an air of nonchalance as he calmly produces a pack of cigarettes in response to queries posed by two interrogators regarding his identity. Just as he is about to respond, the scene transitions to a series of mundane weekday activities, sequentially beginning with Monday, portraying the same individual engaging in daily rituals such as awakening, sipping coffee, commuting by bus, employing his debit card, and reporting to work. These monotonous routines persist over several weeks, ultimately revealing the man's disinterest and dissatisfaction with his humdrum existence. Notably, the recurring absence of the garbage truck on Tuesdays serves as a recurring annoyance. A turning point arises one sleepless night when he hears a suspicious noise emanating from downstairs. Driven by curiosity, he descends the stairs to investigate, only to discover two intruders. In response, the man discreetly retrieves a golf club and makes an attempt to contact the police, but he is soon discovered by the assailants, who demand money. He gestures toward a nearby jar, indicating that it contains the entirety of his available funds, as he exclusively relies on debit cards. One of the intruders searches for valuables but finds nothing, prompting inquiries about the worth of the man's wristwatch. When he expresses its personal significance, they confiscate it. The situation takes an unexpected turn when the man's son intervenes, initiating a brief scuffle between him and one of the intruders. Perceiving an opportunity, the man approaches the other intruder with the golf club, but refrains from attacking, instructing his son to release him. Subsequently, the police arrive to collect statements, questioning the man's choice not to use the advantage he had during the incident. He faces ridicule for not adequately protecting his family. The following day, his son mentions a class project involving writing about a veteran. The man discloses his previous occupation as an auditor, a designation often regarded as insignificance. He suggests his son consult his grandfather, who was involved in government covert operations. Outside, a neighbor casually discusses the previous night's incident, expressing a desire for such an encounter to break the monotony of daily life, emphasizing a need for physical exertion. In his workplace, the man's name, Hutch Mansell, is unveiled, faces inquiries and ridicule from a coworker regarding the prior night's confrontation with the intruders. In response to his coworker's gift of a gun for protection, Hutch discreetly stashes it in a box within the refrigerator. Later, he listens to his half-brother playing the violin on the radio and compliments his performance. The ensuing conversation reveals that they share a history in the same line of work, but have since distanced themselves from it. Intrigued by the events of the previous night, Hutch's brother prompts him to elaborate. Hutch explains that the intruders were a terrified couple with an unloaded weapon, seeking to avoid harm, which clarifies his non-lethal response. Following that moment, Hutch visits his father at a nursing home, where they share a meal. His father reminisces about his past and the life he once led, leading Hutch to contemplate his own existence. Returning home, Hutch's daughter expresses concern over a missing kitty cat bracelet, suggesting that the robbers could not have taken it. Distressed by this, Hutch departs with determination, slamming the door behind him. He revisits his father's residence, retrieving his father's expired FBI badge and a firearm. With these in hand, he embarks on a mission to locate the assailants who robbed him, visiting tattoo parlors to inquire about a distinct tattoo he observed on one of the assailants during the robbery. Despite several unsuccessful attempts, Hutch's visit to a particular tattoo shop results in mockery and an attempt to assault him when the men notice his expired FBI badge. A peculiar twist unfolds when one of the men recognizes the tattoo on Hutch's arm and expresses gratitude for his service, retreating into a private room with trepidation. This peculiar occurrence leads to their cooperation in helping Hutch track down the assailants. Upon locating them, he demands the return of his watch and the missing kitty cat bracelet. When they imply not having the bracelet, Hutch resorts to violence, threatening one of the assailants with a firearm. However, the assailant's life is spared when a crying baby in another room intervenes. This incident prompts Hutch to depart from the robber's location, visibly agitated. While riding a bus home, a group of intoxicated individuals collide with a nearby dumpster. Hutch silently observes, inwardly hoping they board the bus, as they appear troublesome, and he is anxious to vent his frustration. As they enter, Hutch watches them bully others. With a sly smile, he rises and approaches the door to close it, sparking a brutal confrontation that leaves the individuals severely injured. Hutch manages to save one individual who was fighting for their life using a makeshift straw. Following this, he apologizes to the bus driver for the disturbance and limps his way back home. Upon returning home, as he quietly ascends the stairs, his wife, unable to sleep, catches him. Concerned, she inquires about his whereabouts, and Hutch reveals he was involved in a fight, leading to a heartfelt conversation about old times while she tends to his injuries. Later that night, the audience is introduced to Julian, a wealthy drug addict. As he makes his way to his club, Julian engages in a conversation with company shareholders. When one criticizes his behavior and lack of confidence in their business, Julian proves himself by committing a violent act, establishing his dominance. They toast to the deceased shareholders' equity, now belonging to them. However, Julian receives a phone call about his brother's recent incident, leading to a display of grief upon seeing his brother's condition. Overwhelmed by anger, after learning of his brother's dire condition, Julian tortures one of his brother's friends who witnessed the bus incident for information about the perpetrator. He discovers that it was one man and inquires about how to find him, learning that the man is Hutch through the discovery of his debit card. The next day, Hutch receives a call from his brother, warning him that he harmed the brother of a dangerous Russian boss, Julian, and to prepare for the consequences. Hutch visits a barber as requested by his brother, who provides critical information about Julian's illicit activities. Subsequently, Julian expresses shock upon discovering Hutch's true identity and instructs his men to capture him alive. While having dinner with his family, Hutch notices a group of unknown vehicles approaching his residence and orders his family to seek safety in the basement. In the basement, he kisses his wife and prepares for a confrontation. He dispatches the intruders with remarkable ease, showcasing his exceptional combat skills. However, he is ultimately incapacitated by Julian's top henchman and taken captive. During their journey, Hutch regains consciousness and ingeniously dislocates his finger to free himself from the handcuffs. He seizes a fire extinguisher from the trunk, causing the vehicle to crash, resulting in the death of Julian's men. After escaping, Hutch returns to his home and confronts the dying man, recounting a story about his past as a top enforcer in a dangerous profession. He nonchalantly discovers the hidden kitty cat bracelet beneath the couch. The following night, Julian's men attempt to assassinate Hutch's father at a nursing home, but are surprised when Hutch's father defeats them, revealing his own formidable combat skills. Hutch later visits Julian's club, observing Julian's performance in silence. Julian notices and approaches him, acknowledging Hutch's audacity for being in his presence. Hutch discreetly reveals a concealed claymore beneath a cloth and requests a private conversation. During their conversation, Hutch informs Julian that he destroyed his obshak, and they are now even, referring to Julian's attack on his residence while his family was present. This action provokes Julian and his henchmen to pursue Hutch through the city streets. Hutch skillfully leads his pursuers to his workplace, which he had acquired from his boss, and outfitted with a meticulously devised trap for this anticipated confrontation. Although Hutch finds himself outnumbered and wounded during the confrontation with Julian and his men, he is unexpectedly rescued by his half-brother and father, who were coincidentally present at his workplace and proved to be highly skilled combatants themselves. The trio efficiently dispatches the adversaries, displaying their well-honed combat abilities. Julian, left as the sole survivor with a loaded weapon, becomes the target of Hutch's ingenious plan. Hutch attaches a claymore mine to a bulletproof glass shield and approaches Julian. By pulling the pin, Hutch orchestrates Julian's dramatic demise. The movie concludes with a return to the interrogation room where it all began, as the two interrogators question Hutch about his identity. Hutch responds with the cryptic statement, "Nobody." However, their conversation is interrupted by a surprising turn of events when the interrogators receive a message from an unknown caller, revealing Hutch's importance as a government official and demanding his release. 3 months later, Hutch and his wife are in the process of purchasing a new house. During a tour of the property with the real estate agent, a mysterious call is received. Hutch takes the phone and inquires about the presence of a basement, hinting at the possibility of a sequel to the story.